Finding out I was pregnant at 17 was a pivotal moment in my life, one filled with fear and uncertainty. The day I found out I was pregnant, fear washed over me like a cold wave. I was a high school student, not ready to become a mother, and yet faced with the reality of carrying a child conceived under the most challenging circumstances, with a person who was anything but a loving partner. Becoming a mother at 17 was never in my plans. At such a young age, with dreams of my own yet to be explored, the news of my pregnancy came as a startling wake-up call. I was faced with a challenging decision, whether to keep the baby or not, especially given the circumstances of conception. Being pro-choice, I chose to embrace the unexpected journey of motherhood, despite knowing the father was far from ideal. Despite never planning to have children, the news of my pregnancy set a series of life-altering events in motion. I supported the right to choose, but for me personally, I decided to keep the baby. This decision was not made lightly. It was made with the awareness that I was aligning my future with that of my child's, regardless of the predator who fathered them. The man I was with was not just unsupportive, he was a predator. His presence in my life brought more shadows than light, casting a long, dark veil over what should have been the beautiful early days of motherhood. As my belly grew, so did my resolve to protect my child from the toxicity of its father. This protective instinct only intensified when I gave birth and grew stronger when I held my son for the first time. I knew then more than ever that I had to get my child away from his harmful influence. The years that followed were riddled with battles. Each pregnancy, yes, there were more children, brought its own set of challenges, magnified by the shadow of an abusive, controlling man. I found myself constantly shielding my children from their father's toxicity, fighting to protect them from the harshness that filled our world. When my daughter was born, a resolve solidified within me. I knew I needed to get her, and all my children, away from this destructive environment. The escape wasn't easy. It took 11 years of strategic planning, enduring abuse, failed attempts, restraining orders, and safeguarding my children's well-being before I could finally break free. The day we were finally free of him, a new chapter began for us, one marked by independence and the pursuit of safety and happiness. Moving to another state, finally, we broke free from the chains of abuse, leaving behind the man who had brought so much pain into our lives. The path was anything but easy. It required planning, courage, and an unwavering commitment to my family's safety and well-being, but it was worth it in the end. Navigating single motherhood came with its own set of challenges, though perhaps none as hard as those I had already faced. Since I was 16, I had been caring not only for my partner's sister's kids. This experience, while exhausting, had unknowingly prepared me for the road ahead. Working multiple jobs became my norm, as I strove to ensure that my family never lacked for anything. As a mother, my priority was always the safety and well-being of my children. I became fiercely protective, perhaps overly so, driven by the traumas we had collectively endured. While I did date, I kept this part of my life separate, ensuring that the complexities of adult relationships did not burden my children. I taught them independence, how to cook, clean, and take care of themselves, skills that would empower them as they grew older. At times, being a single mother was harder than I ever expected. Though I left the abusive relationship early enough for my younger children to heal, my oldest son had already been scarred by his own trauma. Unknown to me, during the hours I was at work, my ex-husband began to physically abuse him. He started fighting in school and explained the marks as results from those fights. When I did ask him if his father was the cause, he lied to protect me, knowing confrontation would only lead to more violence. Learning about this later made me feel like I had failed to protect my son, and it strengthened my resolve to shield my children from further harm. Single parenthood brought with it a realization that children are just small people with as complex emotions as adults. They need extra guidance to navigate their feelings, a task they face anew each day. Without support, my children became latchkey kids, which brought its own set of challenges. After-school programs sometimes exposed them to more violence, teaching me the hard truths about raising children in less than ideal circumstances. During this time, trust was a commodity that often betrayed me. I moved to a new state on the advice of an old middle school friend who promised a better life for my children. Instead, her actions left us homeless, forcing us into a women and children's shelter. Despite the setback, the shelter proved to be a sanctuary compared to her home. I continued to work, but the difficulties often left me discouraged as a mother. Guilt over their father's actions drove me to spoil them, trying to compensate for their earlier sufferings. In my quest to be a good mother, I sometimes forgot to take care of myself. I loved them more than myself, and learning to balance being both a mother and a woman was a hard thing to do. My children, strong and resilient, rarely complained, even when things were tough. They were never hungry, though they didn't always have their preferred meals. I always made sure there was something to cook, emphasizing that a home-cooked meal was better than any fast food. Meanwhile, their father tried to maintain control over us. He made legal attempts to take custody or to stop me from moving away with the children. He was granted visitation rights, and he would call the police to enforce them if I ever felt the children were too sick to visit him. These actions showed that his priorities were skewed, using his time with the children not to bond with them, but to extend his control over me. This continued until the children themselves lost any desire to know him. These experiences encapsulate what being a single mother is about. It's a role filled with challenges, learning, and immense responsibility. Despite everything, I wanted to ensure my children knew they were loved deeply. Being a single mother isn't just about survival. It's about providing a sense of security and love in the face of adversity. No matter what I had to endure, the love I had for my children never wavered. I dedicated my life to keeping them safe, shielding them from the harsh realities that I had once endured. When I eventually started dating again, I was cautious, always careful to keep my romantic life separate from my role as a mother. My overprotectiveness was a fortress I built around them, teaching them life skills like cooking and cleaning, hoping these would empower them as they grew older. However, the scars from our past were always there, just beneath the surface. I tried my best to prevent the trauma they witnessed from coloring their view of the world or of themselves. But no amount of protection could shield us from all of life's harsh realities. In 2017, the unthinkable happened. My oldest son passed away. The guilt of not being able to save him haunts me, a relentless echo of my perceived failure as a mother. The loss of my oldest son left a void in my heart, a sense of failure that I hadn't protected him when he needed me most, despite all he had done to save me from my darkest moments. Living with this loss has been a journey of its own, a process of learning to accept the unfillable void while still moving forward. I talk more about this loss in my video, Finding Light in Darkness, Navigating Through Grief and Healing After Losing a Child. Living with his loss has been a journey of its own. The void his absence left in my heart is a chasm that seems impossible to fill. Yet, day by day, I learn to live a little more, to accept the pain as part of the love I will always carry for him. Healing is not a destination, I've come to realize, but a continual process. Through it all, my life has been a testament to resilience and the transformative power of love and dedication. My children have been my anchor, motivating me to rise above the challenges and ensure that the trauma of our past does not dictate our future. While I may never fully heal from the loss of my son, I've learned to live with this emptiness, channeling my pain into strength and hope for my children's futures. I've come to understand the strength that lies in vulnerability and the power of resilience. My life, no doubt, has been filled with ups and downs, yet each experience has woven into the fabric of who I am today. A survivor, a protector, a mother. My journey has been filled with trials, but each struggle has brought lessons of strength, perseverance, and the power of maternal love. I've dedicated my life to keeping my children safe, and though the road has been rocky, the rewards of seeing them grow into independent, capable individuals are immeasurable. My story is one of embracing the unexpected turns of life, finding the courage to move forward, and never losing sight of the possibility of renewal and happiness. For anyone out there navigating the tumultuous waters of single parenthood, know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to admit that you're not perfect. What matters most is that you continue to fight for a better tomorrow for your children, just as I did. Remember, in the face of adversity, you are stronger than you know. If this message resonates with you, please show your support by liking and sharing it with others. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay updated with new empowering content as it becomes available. Together, and we can make a difference and spread inspiration far and wide. Spread empowerment. Subscribe for inspiration.